Buckle up as we blast through mind-blowing geography secrets, where capitals hide in impossible spots, enclaves punch holes in borders, and extreme terrain rewrites the rules of the planet. From the Indian subcontinent's tangled edges to never-colonized strongholds, tropics defying logic, and China's shadow in Tibet, this globe-trotting tour will leave you questioning every map you've ever seen.
Belgium is often described as having two centres of governance, Brussels as the national capital and a shared EU administrative centre. Brussels is the capital of Belgium, but it also serves as the de facto capital of the European Union, hosting nearly 50,000 EU officials. More than 50 official buildings in Brussels are dedicated to EU governance, more than in most other cities. Belgium's constitution does officially name Brussels as the capital. This unique situation makes Brussels the political heart of both Belgium and the EU, all in the same city. So, what happens if the EU moves? Belgium would still have a capital, but Europe might not. What's the most confusing geography fact in your country? Comment below. Did you know Bhutan is almost entirely surrounded by mountains, with some peaks over 10,000 feet high? Nestled between the Himalayas to the north and the Indian subcontinent to the south, Bhutan is one of the most geographically isolated countries on Earth. The northern border is flanked by peaks in the Greater Himalayas, including Bhutan's highest mountain, Gangkhar Phuentsholing, which rises to 24,836 feet into the sky. But just across the country, the southern border drops to just 2,000 feet in elevation, a 10,000-foot drop in just 50 miles. Because of these extreme elevations, Bhutan has limited international airports. This dramatic geography makes Bhutan one of the most difficult countries to reach, and one of the most breathtaking in the world. What's the most extreme geography in your country? Did you know a country surrounded by two global superpowers has never been colonized? Bhutan, nestled between China to the north and India to the south, east, and west, has never been colonized, despite its strategic location. It's smaller than the state of Kentucky, just about 14,800 square miles, but its terrain is anything but simple. The country's highest peak, Gangkhar Phuentsholing, rises over 24,000 feet, and it's the tallest mountain in the world that no one has officially climbed. Bhutan has remained independent for several centuries, thanks to its tough-to-access terrain and strong cultural identity. And if you drove the length of Bhutan, it would take you about 6 to 8 hours, but you'd be climbing more than you'd be driving. So, what's the most surprising geography fact about your country? There's only one place on Earth where the Himalayas meet the tropics, and it's in Bhutan. This rare collision happens in Bhutan's Sarpang district, where the landscape drops from over 13,000 feet to just 500 feet in 50 miles. The result? A biodiversity hotspot with over 2,000 plant species, more than any other place in the region. You can hike from snow-capped peaks to steamy rainforests in a single day, a geographic rarity found nowhere else on Earth. This dramatic elevation change creates a unique climate zone, like having Alaska and Florida in the same country. And scientists still can't fully explain why this convergence exists in just one place, Bhutan. What's the most surprising geography fact about your country? What if a single country had deserts, rainforests, and snow all at once? That's Chad. Chad spans approximately 495,800 square miles, bigger than Texas alone. It crosses for climate zones, from the Sahara Desert in the north to tropical rainforests in the south. Northern Chad gets less than 10 inches of rain per year, while the South sees over 30 inches. The highest point is the Kosi volcano, rising approximately 11,300 feet into the sky. You can travel from freezing mountain peaks to scorching desert dunes in just 200 miles, all within Chad's borders. How wild is it that one country holds for completely different climates? What's the most surprising geography fact about your country? Chile is so long you could fly from the Atacama Desert to Patagonia in just 6 hours, but it's so narrow you can see both borders from a plane window. From north to south, Chile stretches over 4,270 kilometers, shorter than the distance from New York to Paris. But at its narrowest point, it's only about 100 miles wide, significantly less than the width of Texas. This extreme shape is the result of tectonic forces and historical borders shaped by the Andes and the sea. From a flight over the Andes, you can actually see the eastern border with Argentina and the western coast along the Pacific Ocean. That's right, a country longer than the distance from New York to Paris is so narrow you can see both sides from a single plane window. What's the most mind-blowing geography fact about your country? Comment below. Did you know a disputed area measuring approximately 35 square kilometers could spark a war between 3 countries? This is the Kalapani region in Nepal, a remote high-altitude area claimed by Nepal, India, and China. The dispute dates back to an 1816 treaty between Nepal and British India that left the border unclear. Kalapani sits at an elevation of approximately 14,220 feet above sea level, making it one of the highest contested regions in the world. Satellite maps reveal all 3 countries have drawn different borders, and no resolution has been reached. Kalapani is significantly smaller than Manhattan, but its location makes it a strategic flashpoint in the Himalayas. What's the most bizarre border dispute in your country? Comment below. What if a river carved a canyon deeper than Mount Everest itself? Welcome to the Yarlung-Zangpo Gorge in Tibet, the deepest river gorge on Earth. The gorge plunges nearly 20,000 feet deep, approaching the height of Mount Everest's summit. The river drops nearly a mile in elevation over just 30 miles, that's faster than most rivers in the world. If you dropped Mount Everest into the gorge, its peak would still be hidden nearly a mile below the rim. This natural wonder beats even the Grand Canyon, and it's still largely untouched by the world. Now tell me, what mind-blowing geography fact does your country have? Did you know there's a country that's just one city big? It's not a city-state in your imagination, it's real, and it's called Monaco. Monaco is just 0.8 square miles in size, smaller than most American neighborhoods. It has a population of just under 38,000 people, and the entire country is surrounded by France on 3 sides and the Mediterranean Sea on the 4th. How did this happen? Monaco has been a sovereign city-state since the 13th century, when it became independent from the Republic of Genoa. Here's the kicker, you could walk from one end of Monaco to the other in under 20 minutes, and it's still an entire sovereign nation. To put it in perspective, Monaco is about the size of a small American city block, yet it's a full country with its own government, currency, and passport. What other countries have geography so strange, they defy the map? Comment your favorite weird country fact below. What if you sailed straight for about 6,656 miles and never saw land? This is the longest unbroken ocean route on Earth, a straight line from Portugal to China. The journey would take several weeks to a few months depending on conditions, passing through the Atlantic and Indian Oceans. You could sail from Lisbon to Shanghai in a straight line with no major landmasses in the way. That's about 30 times the length of the English Channel, and twice the distance between New York and London. And scientists still can't explain why no major islands or landmasses interrupt this path. What's the longest straight-line ocean route in your country? Did you know one country's border actually splits the equator in 2? Ecuador is one of the countries with a national border that crosses the equator line. The border between Ecuador and Colombia runs just 20 miles south of the equator. The equator passes through the northern part of Ecuador, dividing it into 2 climate zones. There's a small town called Mitad del Mundo where you can stand with 1 foot in the northern hemisphere and 1 in the southern. If you drove the length of the equator through Ecuador, it would take just under 2 hours at highway speeds. And scientists still can't explain why the border was drawn exactly where it is, it's pure geography magic. Did you know a town in Belgium is completely surrounded by the Netherlands? and it's split into 22 pieces. This town is called Bal-Hertog, and it consists of 26 separate parcels of land, with 22 Belgian exclaves in the Netherlands. Some enclaves are less than 50 meters wide. The town is entirely surrounded by the Netherlands, no part of it touches the rest of Belgium. This bizarre layout dates back to the 13th century, when the land was divided between two noble families, one Dutch, one Belgian. Because of the layout, you can literally step from Belgium into the Netherlands and back into Belgium again in just a few steps. It's so small that it could fit within a few acres, and it's still a full-fledged municipality. What's your country's weirdest geography fact? Comment below, we're dying to hear it. Did you know Australia shares a perfectly straight ocean border with Indonesia? This border is approximately 214 miles long across the ocean, one of the longest straight-line oceanic borders in the world. It was established by a treaty to define maritime boundaries between the two countries, a rare feat in international geography. The line is so straight it could fit into a single straight line drawn on a world map, something almost unheard of in international borders. This border is not long enough to stretch from New York to Miami, and it's completely straight the whole way. And it was agreed upon in 2013 after years of negotiations, proving that even in a curved world, straight lines can still connect nations. What's the most bizarre geography fact about your country? What if a storm could flood a village in just 30 seconds? In Bhutan, sudden cloudbursts can dump over 10 inches of rain in just 1 hour. These storms can trigger flash floods and landslides in under 20 minutes. The narrow mountain valleys amplify the impact, turning quiet streams into raging torrents in seconds. In 2017, a cloudburst washed away a bridge and caused flooding in the region. That's more than twice the rainfall of a typical monsoon day in just a fraction of the time. And scientists still can't explain why these storms hit so fast, but they're getting closer to the truth. Bhutan has more than one border crossing, and the border with India is significantly longer than 20 miles. Phuentsholing is one of the main border crossings where Bhutan connects to the outside world, but it is not the only one. It connects to India's West Bengal state and handles all of Bhutan's trade and travel. Despite being surrounded by India, Bhutan relies on this one tiny door for everything, like a country with just one open window to the world. This border is one of the main routes for Bhutan's people and goods, but not the only one. That's shorter than the distance between New York City and Philadelphia, but it handles all of Bhutan's international traffic. What's the weirdest border fact about your country? Comment below, and let's see who has the most impossible geography. Did you know France borders Spain, but also encircles itself? Deep in the Pyrenees lies a tiny region called Cerdagne, and it's surrounded entirely by French territory. Yet, despite being encircled by France, Cerdagne still borders Spain, making France share a border with itself. It all started with the Treaty of the Pyrenees in 1659, when France and Spain agreed on a narrow strip of land that France would control but Spain would still border. Cerdagne has a land area of about 208 square miles, but there is no specific record of its narrowest point being exactly 20 miles wide, smaller than the distance between New York City and Philadelphia, which is about 80 to 95 miles. This means France shares a border with Spain through a region that is technically surrounded by France itself, a geographic paradox. What's the weirdest border in your country? Comment below, and don't forget to like. Did you know you could sail approximately 20,000 miles without touching land? This incredible journey begins near the coast of Portugal and stretches across the Indian Ocean and the South Pacific. The route is so remote that no major islands or coastlines interrupt it for the entire journey. If you started this voyage, you'd need to sail for approximately 270 to 300 days straight without ever setting foot on land. That's about 20 times the distance from New York to Los Angeles, all across open water. And if you made it to the end, you'd arrive in the Ross Sea near Antarctica, the most remote place on Earth. Did you know your country has a geography fact just as wild? Comment it below.